this is a rant that I've kind of, look, a lot of times I try and like I hear something that happens and I think maybe if I read it, I process it, give it a little bit, and the boiling blood will just kind of die down. It's been about a week since I've seen this, and so far, no. I'm still a little I got this. No, I don't. Okay. Kristen Bell and Keira Knightley. Two celebrities. We all know them, right? Okay, so Kristen Bell went and taught her kids that Snow White is inappropriate for her kids. She will not permit her kids to watch Snow White because, quote, Snow White is kissed non-consensually by a necrophilic prince who sexually assaults a corpse. Yeah, I thought that exact same thing when I was a little child and I watched that movie. In fact, that's why Walt Disney made that movie. In fact, he didn't even write it, but he saw it and thought, you know what would be better than, like, Mickey Mouse? Like, some necrophilic prince wanting to make out with a dead corpse. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Keira Knightley, on the other hand, she has a beef with Cinderella and the Little Mermaid. Both of those stories reinforce the sexist damsel in distress theme. Same thing I thought when I was a kid and I watched those. Absolutely. Little Mermaid, damsel in distress. She's the one that went after Prince Eric. She wasn't like, oh no, woe is me, save me. No, she went to him. She saved him. What's up with that? Anyways, this blog that I'm getting my information from is from a man. His name's Matt Walsh. His blog is Matt Walsh Blogs. Okay, so when I read this at first, I thought it was just some feminist Nazi pushing the feminist agenda. Instead, it is a man who has had his manhood removed and now he's a feminist Nazi. Okay, he continues to go on and say that he applauds both women for protecting their children from this highly objectionable material. In fact, he says that he only fears that the conversation about problematic cartoons has not gone far enough. Yes, but wait, there's more. He says there's several other Disney films that he has a beef with, and not just to go along with the ones that they have, he has more. He said, I would argue that it is actual child abuse to let your son and daughter watch any of these movies. Okay, the first one, Pocahontas. I remember when Pocahontas came out and everybody threw a fit saying that Disney is racist, having a bunch of Indians portray how they were in this film. Now, granted, here's my beef with Pocahontas. Okay, that singing tree, really? We all know trees don't sing. And Pocahontas' little raccoon, Miko, and that dog, how they became friends, we all know that would never happen. People don't grasp this. It's a freaking cartoon, okay? And if you're going to throw a fit about the Indians, you might want to go to the Indians who actually acted in the movie. If Indians actually had a problem with it, they never would have accepted the role of an Indian in an Indian movie. Just saying, if it was that offensive, they should never have done it. And you could say, well, they did it for the money. They still did it nonetheless. So, Here's this guy, Matt Walsh's beef with Pocahontas. He says, I cannot for the life of me understand why Pocahontas hasn't been banned and all the people involved in its production sent to prison camps. Yeah, that sounds legit. Sent everyone to a prison camp because they were a part of Pocahontas, which means they're sending Indians to prison camps, which sounds offensive. But it's not about that right now. It's about those horrible monsters that made a talking tree and a cute little biscuit-eating raccoon. Ugh. He goes on to say the film was terribly offensive well before President Trump used it as a racial taunt against Native American Senator Elizabeth Warren. Pocahontas features extremely harmful and retrograde Native American stereotypes and deeply troubling white savior storyline. The character Pocahontas is not only sexualized, I mean, she was wearing like a loincloth type thing, and she was covered. She was scantily clad, I believe, than most. Well, I won't say how they were dressed back then. I got nothing other than what I've seen on Pocahontas. And Dances with Wolves. I got nothing. So he goes on to say that the character Pocahontas is not only sexualized and objectified, but reduced to an outdated character of an Indian woman who sings about the wind and talks to trees. Once again, it's a cartoon. This is not historically accurate. Of course not. Refer again to it's just a cartoon. Instead of letting your child watch Pocahontas, why not cut to the chase and enlist them in the Nazi party? Yes, he said it. It will have the same results either way. Okay, next one. Yes, Aladdin. We all know how offensive that genie in the lamp was. And Jafar and that talking parrot. Yeah, definitely bad for kids. We all know the parrots can't talk like that. Or can they? He says, where to begin? Shall we discuss the Middle Eastern stereotypes? The eroticized female character or the titular Arabic boy who looks and sounds suspiciously white? That's suspicious. My 3-year-old son saw Aladdin at a friend's house and came home in tears. Probably because his little son is just as much of a little pansy girl as he is. Surprised he even had a kid. It was Euro-colonialist propaganda that utterly trivialized and finally erased the lived experience of actual Arabs, he cried. Really? 3-year-old kids talk like that? Grow up. He was right, but I had to scold him sharply for failing to notice the troubling and blatantly speciesist ways that the film treats its animal characters. I agree. They were so mean to Raja the tiger and Iago, stuffing all those crackers in that beak of his. Animal abuse. And of course, this is all to say nothing of the genie. Yes, that's true. A person of color who is caged in a lamp and forced to serve Aladdin as a literal slave. Euro-colonialist indeed. Speaking of slaves, let's talk about the rug. That rug took a beating. The guy didn't even complain about the rug. He clearly missed the point altogether. That rug had a rock dropped on him. And then Aladdin, the suspicious white boy, and his scantily clad girlfriend forced the rug to fly him all over the place just so he could show her the world. Ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, that leads us to our next one. Pinocchio. This is where it takes a serious turn for the worst. Pinocchio is a transphobic river of bigoted filth gushed down a mountain of sexism and racism. Yeah. My daughter watched Pinocchio and I immediately disowned her. Probably just the way his parents disowned him when they found out that he was really a she and couldn't man up to dang near anything. What a pathetic loser. You disown your kid because they watch Pinocchio. You win a point in my book of loserhood. He said the damage was done, there was nothing I could do. Notice how Pinocchio spends the whole film pining to be a real boy. I wonder if there was a pun intended when he said pining, being that Pinocchio was made out of wood. I see what you did there, Matt. A more progressive and enlightened movie would send Pinocchio out on a quest to become a polyamorous lesbian or an androgynous genderqueer asexual. Yeah. Instead, Pinocchio is assigned his gender by his deranged puppet master, and he never once questions it or even considers whether it's a very idea of real boyhood, and it, in fact, might be primitive philosophical artifact of a backward and binary age. The film skips the question entirely, and yet we are supposed to let our children watch it? I would rather die. Well, Matt, I wish you would rather die too. And unfortunately, he continues on. Last and not least, The Lion King. Set in Africa, yet almost all the characters are voiced by white actors. Yes, James Earl Jones is really a white man. Whoopi Goldberg is also a white man. Bet you didn't know that. Now you do. You're welcome. One of the only black characters in the whole film is Mufasa. And guess what happens to him? Yes, that's right. He's trampled to death by wildebeests. In one of the most racist moments in Hollywood history. Ditch the movie Roots altogether and just watch The Lion King and you'll see what happens to these poor innocent black people. Person. Lion. Animal. Who cares? Once again, it's a cartoon. Notice that the wildebeests are also black, which is a not so subtle reference to the bigoted black on black crime. You see the similarities? Blacks are wildebeests, blacks are lions. Wildebeests kill lions. Wildebeests are monsters. Lions are monsters. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. We digress. I watched The Lion King once when I was a child, and I felt like I was at a Klan rally in Alabama in the 1930s. Oh, but there's one other prominent black actor in the film, Whoopi Goldberg's voice, a hyena who acts as a servant to Scar, who's played by a white British actor. My hands shake with rage even as I type these words. That's funny, my hands shake with rage as I read these words. Except your anger is at a cartoon, mine's at an actual living, breathing turd burglar who is offended by a cartoon. The movie should be rated X for xenophobic. He says I could continue this list, but it's causing me to relive the trauma I experienced when I first saw these movies. Certainly, Winnie the Pooh is out because of its harmful portrayal of an overweight person and its pseudo-scientific insistence that obesity is linked to sugar consumption. No, actually, it's because Winnie the Pooh is just plain lazy. He's a stuffed bear. Actually, I take that back. He does exercise. If you do see the mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh, he does do up, down, touch the ground. I should know. I've seen it enough to know. Toy Story is problematic because the boy only owns gender typical toys. Except for Bo Peep. Oh yeah, and that girl dinosaur. Here's where things get a little awkward. As a child myself growing up, I also only had gender typical toys. I did not own any Barbies. I guess that makes me a monster too. You heard it here. Peter Pan and Dumbo and the Jungle Book are notoriously racist. I agree. That snake, racist. The monkey, also racist. The elephants, clearly racist. Yeah, Dumbo, the big ears, racist. Lady and the Tramp makes light of sexual assault when the boy dog non-consensually kisses the girl dog as they share a plate of spaghetti. I totally agree on that. And if you saw Lady's face when the tramp went and kind of snuck one in on her as they were both slurping in, she just wanted to just right in the face. I know she had that look of like, oh, that just happened. In reality, insult. Bambi sends a troubling message about animal rights. I totally concur. Animals have no rights. They're animals. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say animals have rights. We do have the right to bear arms, but bears don't have the right to bear arms. Wait. Bears can have their own arms, but bears can't have guns. It's all they have. Their paws aren't designed for guns. Again, we digress. The Sword in the Stone is 90 minutes of toxic masculinity. Tarzan features a man who thinks he's a monkey, which is clearly meant to mock and trivialize body dysmorphia. That's what I thought when I saw that. I mean, let's all be honest. It's true. Perhaps the only acceptable and even halfway progressive Disney movie is, wait for it, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The straight white male is a hideous, deformed, virgin beast, rightly exiled from polite society. This indeed is how all white men ought to be portrayed. If only they could all be locked in a bell tower and forgotten, then perhaps the rest of us could finally live in peace. Keep in mind this blog was brought to you in part by a white male who I believe should be locked in a bell tower and exiled for life because his garbage opinion is so like, look, how deep do you have to dig to come up with crap like this? And the fact that Kristen Bell threw a fit over Snow White. Let's talk about her own movie, Frozen. Let's talk about any of her movies. We're going to stick with Frozen while we're on the topic of Disney. Elsa, yes, Elsa tried to off her sister against her own will. What does that teach her kids? Hey, when you get mad at your sister, try and kill her. Yeah, go for it. Just take your hands and don't conceal. Let it all out. Off your sister. Build a big giant Iceman to go and attack your sister. And then build a giant ice castle up in the hills. And then let the town freeze to death. Well done, Kristen Bell, you and your hypocrisy. Now, there are a lot of people that will go and throw a fit over Kristen Bell and say, I'll never watch one of your movies again, and I'll never support you again. And I think that Matt Walsh is just, should be out with the trash himself. I'm not going to go and throw my Frozen movie in the garbage because, well, it doesn't matter. It's already been purchased. She's already made her buck. But guess what? I'm not going to stop loving Disney. And good luck for trying to go and make other people hate him in this little pansy world that we live in, that men can't be men and women can't be women, and you can go and address a man as a man and a woman as a woman without having somebody go and say, excuse me, you just assigned my gender. and that's offensive. Well, guess what? It offends me that you can't go and look between your legs and identify yourself as what you really are, and you don't go and just push your way upon me. And you could say, well, you're pushing your way upon me. Look, everybody just needs to grow up, knock it off, grow a pair. Okay? Stop throwing a fit over cartoons. That's exactly what they are. Fake. They're not real. I grew up watching Looney Tunes, watching the Roadrunner try and blow up Wile E. Coyote, and vice versa. And guess what? I have yet to buy an anvil from Acme or a bomb. Not only because, one, I know they don't work. It'll blow up in my face. But two, I'm not a monster, and I don't do that. I also know that if I stick my finger in the end of a gun and pull the trigger, it's not going to go and flower out the end of my gun and make my finger black. It's going to blow my finger off. Why is that? Because I have more than half a brain and I use it. Unlike these other people that think that that sort of thing is reality. It's not. They're cartoons. They're fake. That talking tree in Pocahontas, that talking wooden boy with gender-assigned genders, and Timon and Pumbaa. Look, if you've gotten to this point, and we're like 21 and a half minutes in, and you think that what I'm thinking, feeling, saying is wrong, by all means, please let me know. If I'm out of line, please let me know. I would love to have a conversation with somebody that feels the same way as this other guy that says these movies are trash. Guess what? I can go through every single movie Hollywood's ever done. In fact, I can even go through Hollywood and tell you each and every person and movie and how they are a dumpster fire and worthless to the world. But guess what? It's entertainment. People are people. And I leave it at that. Okay? I'm hoping that after getting this all off my chest, I could just kind of let everything subside. It's a tough one because it kind of hits home because I love Disney. And I don't think that whenever they made a movie based on a book that was written countless years before, that the person that wrote the book even knew what any of this garbage would be, because it didn't matter then, and it shouldn't matter now. Okay, I think I'm done. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumb up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for putting up with this big, long rant. It's good to get it off my chest. We'll see you later. Bye.